Okay, in 9.1b, we're going to solve by factoring again, but this time the leading coefficient will not be 1, so it's going to be ax squared plus bx plus c, which we factored before using the box method and by grouping, and you are welcome to use whichever method you prefer, but we are going to actually solve it, because normally we just stop. Okay, first thing, make sure it's in standard form. So it does equal 0, it's going from highest to lowest. Okay, I'm gonna use the box method on the first one, and you're welcome to group it if that's your preferred method. So for box method, let me go ahead and make my box. Okay, first term in the first box, last term in the last box. Okay, I'm gonna multiply a times c, 3 times 4, and I get 12. I'm gonna think of the factors of 12. Let's see, 3 times 4, 6 times 2, 12 times 1. And I'm going to check and see which of those factors add up to the 8x I want it to add up to. So that must be 6x and 2x. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take the greatest common factor on the first row. So 3x squared and 6x, they both divide by 3x. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and fill in the blanks around the edges of the box. So 3x times x is 3x to the second. 3x times 2 is 6x. X times 2 is 2x. And then just to check, 2 times 2 is 4, so I probably did it correct. So what do I have? I have 3x plus 2 times x plus 2 is equal to 0. But because I'm solving, I have to actually figure out what x equals to. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and write 3x plus 2 equals 0. Okay, I'm going to subtract 2. And I get 3x equals negative 2. And I'm going to divide by 3, and I get negative 2/3. Okay, for the second one, if I do x plus 2 equals 0, I subtract 2 on both sides, and I get x equals negative 2. And we were doing it in our heads before, and I will do it in my head on the next one, I think. Okay, that's one method. I solved it. I got negative 2/3, and I got negative 2. And if a is not 1, we normally get a fraction for at least one of the answers. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and group for this one. But if you prefer the box method, use the box method again. Okay, I'm still going to keep the first term the same and the last term the same. If I multiply a times c, I get 14. The factors of 14 are 7 and 2, 14 and 1. I think that's it. I want them to add up to negative 15. So it's going to be 14 and 1, but I want them to both be minus. Let's do minus 14x minus 1x. Okay, by grouping, I'm going to check the first two and take out the greatest common factor. Between 2x to the second and minus 14x, they both have a common factor of 2x. 2x times x is 2x to the second. 2x times 7 is 14x. Because there's a minus sign here, I'm going to bring down the minus sign. And then between the 1x and the 7, I can only take out a 1. 1 times x, negative 1 times negative 7 is positive 7. Okay, I'm going to write it in factored form. And it does equal 0, so I can go ahead and solve it. I'm going to try to solve it in my head this time. Now the second factor is kind of easy because we remember from last section, if we add 7, then we get x is 7. So I'm going to go ahead and put that answer down. Okay, now this one is kind of similar. Okay, I could add 1 and I'll get 1, but I'm really going to get that 2x equals 1. If I divide by 2, I'm going to get x is 1/2. Okay, so I got x is 1/2 and x is 7. If you want to skip these steps and get the answers, you're welcome to. If you feel like those steps help you, then keep the steps there. Okay, we're going to do 2 more. Okay, for c, 6x to the second plus 7x minus 5. Okay, group or box, whichever you prefer. I think I'm going to group again. So I'm going to keep the first term the same, last term the same, and it does equal 0. Okay, let's do a times c, so negative 30. Think of how many times you get negative 30. 6 times negative 5, 10 times negative 3, 15 times negative 2, 30 times negative 1. Okay, now they need to add up to positive 7. So 10 minus 3, so plus 10x and minus 3x. And if you're doing the box method, then you have 10x and minus 3x in your boxes. Okay, let me check the first two terms. Between 6 and 10, I can divide them both by 2, and they both have an x. 2x times 3x is 6x to the second. 2x times 5 is 10x. I'm going to bring down the minus sign. Between 3x and 5, I can only take out a 1. Negative 1 times 3x, negative 1 times 5. I have a common factor, which is a good thing. Okay, so I'm going to write it in factored form. 3x plus 5 equals 0. Okay, and then I can set each factor equal to 0, or I can try to do it in my head. Okay. For the first one, if I were solving it, I would add 1 to 0, and I would get x equals 1, but I wouldn't. I would get 2x equals 1. And if I divide by 2, I get x is 1/2 for one of my answers. For the next one, if I subtract 5, I get 3x equals -5. If I divide by 3, I get x equals -5/3. Okay, last one, D, 9x to the second minus 25. This one looks a little different because it's missing the middle term, and hopefully you're recognizing it as a difference of squares, because if I can do it in my head, then I don't have to group or use the box. Okay, the way I noticed it was a difference of squares, because if I see 9x to the second, I know that's 3x times 3x. For negative 25, 5 and 5, one positive, one negative, and because it's a positive and negative, that's how they cancel out. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and solve it because it's already factored. So if I minus 5, I get 3x equals -5, and then if I divide by 3, I get x equals -5/3. For my second answer, I'm going to add 5, so I get 3x equals +5. If I divide by 3, I get x equals 5/3. And those are my answers. Okay, go ahead and try the practice problems. And then check your answers on the calendar to make sure you're getting them right.